All right, listeners, I think you know that we are part of the Radiotopia network, which is basically a network built on the idea that you should support the most creative, independent audio makers around. No one, and I mean no one, embodies the Radiotopia ethos more than Benjamin Walker and his show Theory of Everything. Benjamin, who I've known for a long time, has been making beautiful, personal, sprawling audio documentaries for decades that help us understand the very strange world we live in. And now he has a new series called Not All Propaganda is Art. The new series goes back to the 1950s when Western security agencies like the CIA paid artists, writers, and intellectuals to fight the cultural Cold War.
The CIA funds were free. I mean, no one was told what to say.
Gloria Steinem, activist who sees the CIA as a sort of enlightened pal or rich uncle, there is another viewpoint.
Look, if you're listening to this show, I know you like secret histories. I know you like a mix of culture and politics and shadowy figures. So what are you waiting for? Not All Propaganda is Art from Benjamin Walker. You can find it now wherever you listen or at theoryofeverythingpodcast.com. This episode is brought to you by Progressive, where drivers who save by switching save nearly $750 on average. Quote now at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, national average 12-month savings of $744 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Hey everyone, Jody here. We have something to celebrate here at this day. Turns out that this, what you're listening to right now, is our 300th episode, and it is also basically the second anniversary of this show. No one really knew this was coming until our researcher Jacob just kind of raised his hand and said, we've got some big anniversaries coming out. So we figured we'd mark it with a special episode. And as it happens, something really special is taking place right now on this exact day, which is that at long last, the launch of Oprahdemics is here. This is a new Radiotopia show, and in many ways, it is a spin-off or part of the family of this show. Kellie is hosting it. Her co-host is Leah Wright-Reger, who's been a guest on this podcast. I'm producing it. It was sort of inspired by an episode that Kellie and Nikki and I did on this show. Nikki's been super helpful and supportive as we've gotten it going. So, to my mind, this is a great way to mark 2 years and 300 episodes with a whole new show for you to listen to that looks at American culture and politics and health and media and lots more, all through the lens of Oprah Winfrey, treating her as the incredibly influential and consequential figure that she is. So coming up is a little bit of what we call the Oprah 101 episode. This is the conversation with Kellie and Leah about why they think Oprah Winfrey matters and what they'll try to cover in the show. The first proper episode is out now as well, but this will give you a good taste of what we're up to with Oprahdemics. I'll also just share one other thing, which is when you are making a show, particularly a new show, you end up listening to the episodes a lot. There are dozens of edits and new edits and rough cuts and so forth. And I will just say that even after listening to this stuff for like the 50th time, I find myself smiling when Kellie talks or nodding when Leah makes an amazing point. The vibes are great on this show. It's incredibly insightful. I think you'll like it. I hope you'll like it. I hope you will subscribe and spread the word. And of course, with this show, thank you for all your support of this day. Nikki, Kellie, Jacob, Brittany, Kala, all the amazing guests we've had on. We really do feel that love and support. Our audience is growing. People are spreading the word about this show. So here's to 2 years, 300 episodes and counting. Lots of cool new stuff. We're very excited. Thanks to Radiotopia. Thanks to all of you. Now, a little taste of Oprahdemics, which is available right now wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, Kellie, so we've been saying we're taking you back to 4 p.m. What does that mean to you?
Oh, weekdays at 4 p.m., I live for it. I live for it. Weekdays at 4 p.m., watching the Oprah Winfrey talk show was
Absolutely
the best part of my day.
Absolutely.
What about for you?
4 p.m. meant Queen Oprah was about to ascend her throne. That's what 4 p.m. meant.
Absolutely. Welcome to Oprahdemics. This is the first episode of our podcast that studies Oprah Winfrey, the Queen of Talk. I am Kellie Carter Jackson. I'm a professor at Wellesley College.
And I'm Leah Wright-Rigueur. I'm a professor at Johns Hopkins University.
We are two friends, two longtime friends. We have so much in common.
We even have the same birthday. We have the same birthday.
May 21st. Same birthday. We both have 3 kids. I have 2 girls and a boy. You have 2 boys and a girl. Like, we have both been in the same academic circles. And it makes sense, I think, for us to be doing this. As much as we have talked about so many other things in our lives, at dinner tables, at each other's houses, at conferences.
And our longtime love of all things pop culture.
Oh my gosh, yes. I can think of no better platform than for us to just, take it to the people and let them hear all the things that we debate, discuss, riff on, especially when it comes to Oprah, because Oprah touches so much of the culture. Every single major interview I can think of with either a celebrity or an infamous trial or a murder or some sort of high profile controversial event, Oprah is there curating that discussion, and you want to hear it from her first.
So listeners, each episode of Oprahdemics is going to focus on one moment, one show, one theme. But for this intro episode, we thought it would be worth giving a little context into who Oprah is, what she represents, and why we think she matters. And I think it's important to do this because, as much as we stand for Oprah, as much as our guests, know the ins and outs and the encyclopedia of Oprah Winfrey, I think there actually might be a lot of people out there who don't know a lot about Oprah, right? The show's been off since 2011. So, Kellie, I need you to drop some knowledge on us. I need you to take us to school, take us to class. First day of class of Oprah 101. What do we need to know about Oprah Winfrey?
So Oprah Winfrey is a Southerner. She is born and raised in Mississippi. She attends at HBCU. She goes to Tennessee State University. She moves to Chicago where she gets her first big job, AM Chicago. That leads her to the Oprah Winfrey Show, which starts in 1986. And then from there, her show explodes. It explodes. And the ratings rocket with each show that she does. This was something we saw her daily. And it became such a part of my routine. And as I grew up, such a part of my upbringing. The first Oprah Winfrey Show was September 8th of 1986. So I'm 4 at the time. So, it didn't have resonance then.
Right, you weren't sitting there I'm here for it. No, 4.
But my mom, my aunts, all the women who were caregivers for me in my lives were certainly watching. So I might have been coloring or playing at their feet, but I was definitely, she's the soundtrack. She's in the background while I'm,
it's part of the culture.
Growing up. Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just talking to my sister yesterday and we were talking about this show, and she was like, Kellie, I remember every time I talked to you, you would say, well, Oprah said. And I was like, did I do that? And she was like, you absolutely did that. I didn't realize I was that diehard. But I think a lot of people, that was kind of the running joke. I remember Sinbad doing a stand-up comedy talking about just like Oprah said. Everyone quoted Oprah, everyone watched her and let her be sort of this guidebook or roadmap for how we should navigate the world all throughout, the late 80s, all throughout the 90s, all throughout the early 2000s and 2010s. Oprah dominated talk show television, dominated it.
Well, when Oprah emerged, I think people got this, they were like another talk show, afternoon, whatever. There's a whole sea of them. But it quickly became apparent that this was something different. Again, Chicago folks tried to tell us. They knew that she was different.
Yeah, and Chicago folks knew at 9 a.m. They knew earlier than everybody else. Because if you lived in the Chicago area like I did, Oprah came on at 9 a.m.
Right. So we, it immediately became apparent that there was something special going on there. But Oprah is coming into this, and she's already been in this major movie, right? She's been in The Color Purple. Yeah. And I think one of the reasons that, we talk about a lot about original Oprah, like the first version, Oprah 1.0, when her show first comes out, part of the reason that it does so well is that she captures elements of the culture, right? In this case, Black culture, and puts it on television, essentially for the world to see. Now, Kellie and I are not arguing that all of those displays of culture are, great or magnificent. Some of those things there, might be like, okay, wait, she was supposed to keep that in the family. Like, she wasn't supposed to talk about that. But the point is, she put it out there in a really, I think, powerful way for the world to see. So now, rather than people kind of just, wondering, okay, what does that mean? Now people have an afternoon insight into this aspect of Black culture in all of its different dimensions.
And we should say that Oprah's also exploding during a time when daytime talk shows are kind of trash. Like, it's very much, who is the father? You are the father, right? Like these paternity tests, or Jerry Springer's got people fighting and going to blows. He's got security on standby.
Very tabloid. Very tabloid.
Very tabloid. And Oprah's like, no, we don't do that here. We don't do that here. We are going to have a classy show. And that classiness prevailed. I mean, ultimately, people lost interest in the fights, and they lost interest in sort of like the tired tropes that came on over and over again. Oprah gave us something fresh each and every time. And that fresh thing that she brought to the table was something that was interesting and provocative and compelling and still entertaining.
She reinvented the entire genre of daytime talk. So by the time the Oprah Winfrey Show goes off the air in 2011, daytime talk is largely, with the exception of, like Maury and things like that, but with for the most part, daytime talk is two people sitting down and having an intimate conversation, and then gifts being handed out. So she makes a choice to shift the way that she does her show, and that ends up being enduring.
She also introduces, we had talked about giveaways, but just her philanthropy, her ability to like spotlight these personal interest stories that connect you to regular people, not just celebrities. For me, some of the most personal stories were the ones where she goes into like ordinary people's lives and just sort of like talks to them about their parenting or their marriage or their finances. She made herself accessible to everyone, the wealthy and the celebrities, of course, but also the soccer moms and people just trying to raise their kids.
The other thing is, we owe it, right? And this is me putting my academic hat on. We owe it to the larger conversation to have a dialogue around the power that Oprah Winfrey has and the platform that she has. And traditionally, one of the things that we say is like, media is a space that we don't imagine like powerful Black women, right? Yeah. Certainly we have had conversation about like influential Black women or things like that. But when we think about power and dynamics in institutions, we don't think about Black people and we don't think about media. But here's Oprah Winfrey, who really in the truest sense of the term is incredibly powerful. And I think that's a really important thing that she does. The other thing I want to mention here is, she talks, Oprah Winfrey in interviews talks a lot about how her friend Roger Ebert, I love that, the casual, like my friend Roger Ebert, the most famous film critic of all time, tells her that she should syndicate her show. Now, I don't know when I first heard about this idea of syndication, I didn't know what that meant. But what it does translate into
money.
Money, right?
Money.
And she is one of the first talk shows to syndicate, which translates to she can sell her package to, different networks, occasionally different times, although it's usually 4 p.m., forever. And it pays off in really incredible ways for her, right? This what translates into money. This is what makes her different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can I just say that, like, there are a lot of people that get a platform and they accumulate or acquire so much wealth for themselves. And Oprah does that. She becomes like the first Black woman billionaire. But what is crazy about Oprah is that It's like, and you too can be a billionaire, because when Oprah puts you on, when she has on the creator of Spanx, when she brings on an author for her book club, when she says, you know what my favorite thing is this year? Bamboo sheets. Like, or, and everyone, and then it's like, you better get your company ready. You better be ready when they call. You better have the stock completely ready to ship, because people are going to lose their minds. It is the Midas touch. But like, we don't think about how much that Midas touch plays out into the larger stratosphere.
One of my favorite things about doing the research around the show and having these conversations is I learned that there are actual economists and like political economists out there who have quantified the Oprah impact. They actually know, they have a P-score or whatever, or have run statistical regressions and have quantified how much value Oprah pours into these different industries or corporations or, in some cases, like book sales. And that was amazing to me. Economists are not running regressions on like Phil Donahue.
Sally Jesse Raphael? No.
Right, sure. Maybe it's a group. Maybe it's a collective. But no, I mean, she does have, the net worth of a medium-sized country.
So what's crazy is that Oprah is not just pushing product, right? She's also pushing people. So when we think about the spin-offs that come from Oprah, I mean, come on. Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, Susie Orman, Nate Berkus, Rachel Ray's big. Who is her trainer? Bob Green, her chef.
There are multiple chefs she's put on.
And some of them, they mutate into things that don't age really well. So we are going to dive into that. Like Dr. Oz in particular, we'll discuss what happened there and the overall ways in which Oprah talked about health and science and diet. There's some of that that's useful, but then there's also an element of that has this snake oil salesman appeal that does not age well in retrospect. Same goes for conversations about money. Some of them are really complicated and honest conversations about money, and then some of them have a bit of a prosperity gospel, get rich quick thinking going on. It is complicated, and we have to acknowledge that. That's what we're going to do with Oprahdemics. So Leah, as we've been going through this, are there any themes or topics that have excited you the most?
So the first thing that I love is that everyone has an opinion on Oprah Winfrey, and everyone has an opinion on the Oprah Winfrey Show, even if they haven't seen it, right? Because there's really a new generation of people who didn't come up with Oprah, but because Oprah is so ubiquitous, because she is everywhere, and because she has had such a dominant impact on the culture, you have no choice but to have an opinion or thoughts about what she means, what she represents, what she does.
There are definitely episodes that don't age well. You know what I mean? There are definitely episodes that like we look back on and I'm like, oh, this would not work in 2022. But what's amazing about Oprah is that there's certain conversations we would never even have if Oprah were not at that table serving up different ideas about race, about sex and sexuality. I mean, Oprah's one of the first people to have these conversations about trans identity and what that means and what that looks like. She's one of the first people to have conversations about what we eat and veganism.
Right?
So the way this show is going to take place is that every week we're going to gab about our favorite episodes or favorite moments, and we're going to do it with some of our homies. You want to talk about who those homies are, Leah?
Sure. So, we have to keep a little bit under wraps, but we will tell you that, of course, we're bringing in our academic friends, but we're also bringing in our journalist friends. So we have tried to really get, an assembly of people from all across different disciplines, different worlds, who are connected by one thing: their interest in Oprah Winfrey and the world that she has created. And of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't have critics as well. And in fact, one of the things that I think is really important is that there were so many people who were just like fans of Oprah that it actually made their critiques that much sharper. Because they're watching, they're into it, and then they have the ability to analyze, what are the problematics? What are the boundaries of how we understand this? Well, at the same time, being super fans and saying, and I can say this because I've seen 4,300 of the 4,500 episodes.
Yes. So the first season is going to be 15 episodes. And let me tell you the struggles we have had trying to narrow down an episode list.
We couldn't contain it. But I mean, we've got food politics, including veganism.
Yes.
We're talking Toni Morrison. Yes. We're talking politics. Trump. Sarah Palin. And Bootylicious.
I mean, we have to talk about Oprah getting duped. We have to talk about James Fry. And Oprah's love-hate relationship with hip-hop.
Gotta talk about hip-hop. But of course, we're also talking about race. We're talking about family secrets.
Oh, man. Yeah, we're talking about Oprah starting a school, y'all. So we want you to join us. We want you to take part in the conversation. We want to hear from you too. We want to know what episodes you could not stop thinking about years later. We want you to think of Oprah as a syllabus. And we want to hear about what you want to read and what you want to review. Okay, listeners, that's the end of our first intro episode. Our first full episode is available now. Check it out.
Download it.
Download it wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Kellie Carter Jackson.
I'm Leah Wright-Rigueur.
Oprahdemics from Radiotopia is now officially in session.
Support for This Day in Esoteric Political History comes from Odoo. What is Odoo? Well, Odoo is the only software your business will ever need. Featuring a suite of integrated business applications, Odoo connects your business operations together so you can get more done in less time. Odoo has apps for everything: CRM, accounting, sales, HR, inventory, marketing, manufacturing, you name it, Odoo's got it. To learn more, visit odoo.com/thisday. That's odoo.com/thisday.
Radiotopia.